Hello and welcome to another episode of the Robin Knits podcast. I'm Rhoda and we are going to look at a list of summer knitting patterns, especially t-shirts. Now lately I've been looking at Ravelry, I've been looking at Instagram, and I've been adding patterns to my Ravelry folders. I've tried not to add it to my queue. I've just favorited them because I do have a long queue of patterns that I want to work through before I explore new ones. So all of these patterns have been released in 2024. Some of them are yet to be released, but I've been following them. I've been looking at the designers, their thought process, what were they thinking of when they were developing this pattern. Some of them have been in a series of patterns, so they have the same kind of design elements, and we'll look at each of them as we go. Now for the patterns, I have divided them into fingering, sport, DK and worsted weight, and I've also listed them in the order of needle sizes. So we go from the smallest needle size to the largest needle size in each of those categories. For each of the pattern, we'll talk about what is the kind of yarn that's used, what was the needle size, any technique that caught my attention, and what are the techniques that we need to know before we dive into any of these patterns. I have a feeling I am going to make a lot of mistakes with pronouncing the names, both of the patterns and the designers, and so to be on the safer side, while I'm still going to attempt and pronounce each of them as closely as I can, I am going to put up a description of the name of the pattern, the designer's name, and also the pictures as we go. Any specification that we are going to be talking about has been taken from the Ravelry page. There are very few patterns there. I think there's only one or two patterns that I actually know of, because I test knit one and the other one was a free pattern, so I could get a little more information. But other than that, all of the pattern information has been taken from Ravelry page, and so this is something anybody can find if you go onto Ravelry. For all of the patterns, I have put them in a separate folder on Ravelry, and you can go look at it if you want to. The link for that folder is down in the description. All of the patterns are also individually listed as links. Any yarn that's mentioned is going to be listed as a link below, and if you cannot find any of the information you need and you really want to talk to somebody about it, you can always leave a comment and I will try and respond to you as soon as I can. With all of that out of the way, we'll start with the first pattern. The first pattern is St. Ives by Karen Steinbach. You know what I mean now with my pronunciations. This is a fingering weight pattern. What I really like about the pattern is the structure that it has. I like the neck detail in particular. I also like that it has the option to button up, and just that pretty keyhole pattern in the front is something that's very, very appealing for me. It's a fingering weight pattern. The needle size that's used for this is 3mm needles, and it has 8 sizes. It's intended to be worn with 5 inches of positive ease. It's a raglan tee. It's top down. It's again, the neck is what really stands out for me. The techniques that you need to know if you are going to be making this is I-cords. The I-cord is at the neckline, as you can see. You need to know German short rows for shaping. It's actually neck shaping in the front, and folded hem. The folded hem, you have 2 different options of doing it. You could either use a 3-needle bind off or just fold it and sew it, so you do have that option available. There are about 60 projects on Ravelry, and when I look at them, I appreciate each of them. Most of these designs that I've also been looking at, I've been intentionally looking at on different body sizes, because with one of the test knits I did recently, while I enjoyed the test knit, I enjoyed the product, enjoyed the process. I felt the fit was not that great because I liked it on the person, the designer, but when I made it for myself, I did not really like it. So I've been trying to be very conscious about it, make sure to look at how it looks at different body shapes and sizes, and then see if it would suit me and then pick the pattern. The next one is the Sunshine Tee by Andrea Gauguin, and a lot of people have been talking about this. A lot of people have knit this. This tee in particular came to my attention when Emily from High Fiber Knits knit this tee as a test knit. She did it in, this is a striped tee, but she did it in a solid version, and it was perfect. It looked really beautiful, and so this has been on my radar ever since. It's again a fingering weight pattern. The needle size used for this is 3.25 millimeters, which means it's a little quicker than the previous one. With the stripes though, I find patterns are very addictive, and if you are going to do the stripes, I know this could be something that you could breeze by. It has 10 sizes and it's intended to be worn with 2 inches of positive ease. I'm sorry about the background sounds. I know there's a bike passing by. I live pretty close to the road and I think you can hear it. So this comes in 10 sizes and it's intended to be worn with 2 inches of positive ease. It's not a very bulky garment and I kind of like it because of that. It does have positive ease. I appreciate that, so it's not very clingy, but I feel it's a nice flowy breezy one without being very shapeless either. It's a drop shoulder pattern, and with stripes I like that you have a lot of options. You could put the stripes closer to each other, you can spread them out, you can group them, or you could just do a simple solid tee. And I am thinking of how I would probably want to make this for myself. The techniques you need is you need to learn how to knit flat, knit in the round, because it's a drop shoulder, so the top portion until you join in the underarms is knit flat. And we need to know German short rows, simple increases, cable cast on, folded hem, and an I-cord bind off. All of these techniques, as a beginner knitter, I did find it intimidating, but once I tried each of them, it was very simple. There are a lot of videos on the internet to guide us through, so I would encourage you to not let any of these techniques put you off from trying any of these patterns. There are about 60 projects on Ravelry, and I think that's pretty impressive for a pattern that's been recently released. The next one is the Springline Tee. It's by Samantha Gurin. The needle size used for this is 3.5, so it may go faster than the first two patterns for sure. It comes in 10 sizes, 2 to 6 inches of positive ease. It's got drop shoulders, it's got lace, it's a short sleeve pattern, and you can knit it top down. I like this pattern because it's got that lace, so you get that spring summery feeling, but also the lace is not all over, it's on the sides, and so it is more manageable for somebody like me who does not really enjoy working with lace. Otherwise it's a simple stockinette pattern. If you do want to make the modification, if you like the silhouette but you want to omit the lace, you can always do that as well. The techniques you need for this is long tail cast on, picking up stitches, backward loop cast on, and tubular bind off, which are all very, very simple ones. There are about 61 projects on Ravelry. It's very pretty. I really like the photographs of the designer. I like the scene, the hat. I like how she's dressed it up, and it's really, really pretty. The next one is Brook Hill by Tammy Gore. The needle size used for this is 3.75 millimeter needles. It comes in about 9 sizes, and it's intended to be worn with about 4 inches of positive ease. For summer, if you've noticed, I've been looking at a lot of positive ease garments. For summer, I do like something that's not clingy. But I'm also looking at patterns which, unlike winter, I may prefer baggy sweaters in winter. But in summer, I'm looking at something that's not clingy but still a little form-fitting. It's not very oversized or really on the larger side. So all of these patterns fit the bill, and I've been enjoying looking at them. It's a top-down tee. It's got raglan, it's got a v-neck, it's got textures, and it's got lace. The lace comes right on top. If you look at a lot of the pictures, it is also striped at the bottom. Now, if I were making this, I would omit the stripes completely because I would want the lace to shine, and so I wouldn't want the stripes to take away from the lace. So I would probably make it in a solid color, but if you intend to make it with lace, please go ahead and try it. It's gonna still be beautiful. I like the brown version of this. I like the color, though lately I've been finding out that brown makes me look very washed out, but I do like the color. I like how it looks on this person. The techniques you need to know is I-cord, twisted ribbing. It's simple ones, and there are just about 7 projects on Ravelry, and I'm assuming all of them are test knits. But sometime next year, I want to see if I can add to the if I could add a project page of my own to this pattern, and I would be happy to do so because the lace again is not very intimidating. It looks like simple yarn overs, and that I can handle. The next category we're gonna look at is sport weight. The first pattern I have under sport weight is called the Quatro Tee by Hven, and I'm just gonna put the rest of the name of the designer up here. The needle size used for this is 3.5 millimeters. It comes in 6 sizes and is intended to be worn with about 3 to 4 inches of positive ease. It's a raglan pattern. It's top down. You are supposed to knit back and forth for the neckline and then join in the round just like you would for the Cumulus tee. The techniques that we need to know is just the knit purl pattern and ribbing. There are about 12 projects on Ravelry. Again, I'm assuming a lot of this have been test knits. If you look at the pattern, it's very similar to the Stick Season pattern by the Creabea. I think this is a pattern because it has textures. It's going to keep the knitter occupied and also not make it look like a plain summer garment. The next pattern is Key Lime Tee by Sang-Mi Lee. It is a sport weight pattern. The needle size used for this is 3.75 millimeter needles. It comes in 6 sizes and it's to be worn with a positive ease of 15.75 inches. Now this is something that has been putting me off because, like I said, I've been looking for garments with lower amount of positive ease. But the best thing about being a knitter is that you can always pick sizes that suit you, suit your taste, and so you can change it based on that. This is a drop shoulder pattern. It has bat wings, which is something I like. It's got stripes, another thing I like. If I could make this in a monochrome color, I would definitely pick that instead of picking more contrasting colors. But this is knit bottom up, which means I need to be very careful about the length. I need to be very careful about where I'm separating for sleeves, especially if I'm going to be making modifications with the size. So with that in mind, I would want to make sure if I know I want to make this pattern, I would probably buy it, read the pattern a couple of times, and pre-plan my modifications before I jump into actually knitting the pattern. The only complicated technique that I came across is the 3-needle bind off, and this because we are knitting bottom up, the 3-needle bind off would probably be on the shoulder, and there are about 12 projects on Ravelry. Most of the projects I came across again were test knits, but all of these are newer patterns. The next group of patterns is DK weight ones. The first one I want to talk about is the Movement Tee. I've test knit this. I love this pattern, so I wanted to start with this pattern in the DK weight category. We used 3.75 millimeter needles. The yarn that was initially used for this, the actual yarn used by the designer, is Sandnes Garn Line, but I use gloss DK from Knit Picks and it seemed to work really well. The best part about the pattern is the stripes. It's also got lace that runs down the raglan and the rest of the sweater, the rest of the tee as well. And if you can make this in a summer yarn, it's gonna be a lovely breezy tee, and I intend to wear mine for cooler summer evenings for sure. It comes in 9 sizes and it's intended to be worn with a positive ease of 2 to 3 inches. In fact, when we were test knitting it, the designer, it's by Lily Kate France by the way, the designer always asked us to size down if we are in between sizes, and it's because the raglan part of the tee is very intentionally designed to fit just right, and so sizing down seemed to help better than sizing up if you were in between sizes. The techniques is just folded neck and a lot of sewing. The neckband is folded and sewn down, and same thing with the sleeves. The bottom of the tee though is just ribbing, and that's because she didn't want it to flare out too much with the folded hem, and it seemed to work great. And I only have positive comments about this because I test knit it. There are about 35 projects on Ravelry. It's amazing to go through and look at all the colors, the combinations people have used. The pictures are beautiful, and it also finishes. It's a very quick knit. If you want something to do over a week and not think too much about it, this would be a good knit for you to start. Also with the stripes, they came in a group of 3, and so when it came to the raglan part, I knew that if I finished 3 sets of 3, I would be done with the raglan part, and so it didn't take too much with counting or keeping track, and it helped as well. This pattern, the next one, has caught my eye. It's not left my brain, it's just sitting there, and I think out of all of these patterns, if I were to cast on one this year, because I'm so desperate to have this, it's going to be this. It's the Hven top by Maria Bergman. The needle size used for this is 4mm needles. It is a free pattern. It comes in 8 sizes and it's intended to be worn with 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. If you look at the pattern, it looks like it's a crop pattern. It's got a split ribbing at the end of the tee, and it is beautiful. I think this would be something I would use to updress any of my garments, and it's beautiful. I would want to wear it over a dress, over a skirt by itself, and I know I will like it however I wear it. It is top down. It's got cap sleeves. Now that is something I'll want to experiment on. I would make the cap sleeves first, see how it looks on my shoulders, see if I like it, and choose to maybe add a sleeve, or maybe make it a little more tank top sort of top. The techniques you need to know is increases, neck shaping, picking up stitches, and ribbing. There are about 29 projects, and for me in particular, when I'm looking at the number of projects, it means I can go over people's comments, go over people's notes, and get more information about the pattern before I choose to buy it. But with this being a free pattern, I already downloaded it, I've gone through it, and I may, at the end of summer, if I still have time, I may knit this. Now moving on to worsted weight patterns, there is the Plain Yoke Tee 20 Solo by Lene Holm. I am not sure why the name is that way, but it is a plain yoke tee. It's worsted weight and I appreciate it, but it is 4mm needles, which means it's gonna be a very thick gauge, a very tight gauge, and I'm just wondering if it's intentional, because if you look at the tee itself, it seems like it's a very flowy tee, and it seems really nice. So I'm wondering what yarn she's used. I took a break, I went and looked at it. She's used Stannis Gun Line, of course. It's such a beautiful yarn. It's got cotton, viscose and linen, and I think that is a very, very nice summer yarn. I've been working with the tin version, the fingering weight version, and I've been enjoying it, so I'm sure the worsted weight one is no different. And it does seem to be a little on the thinner side, at least the fingering weight one. I'm not sure about the worsted weight one, and so I think the 4mm needle should be absolutely okay. It comes in 10 sizes. There was no ease mentioned, so I did not make a note of it. It is a top down tee. It has circular yoke, and that again I think is a very elegant design. With the circular yokes, you see that stitches increase evenly over a consistent number of stitches, and it brings a design element by itself, which is beautiful. The techniques used for this are short rows, and it is optional. From the pattern page I read that there is a novice version and then a regular version. So if you're picking the novice version, there is a way to make this without doing the short rows, and if you're picking the regular one, you could include the short rows. But it's nice to have that option, that choice. And so if you're a beginner knitter, first of all, you don't have to be worried about short rows, but if you are, don't let that stop you, because it does have an option for you to knit without them. And just basic increases, it would just be make one left or make one right, and you would enjoy this. There are about 71 projects on Ravelry, and I can see why. It's a worsted weight pattern. It's going to go quickly, and it looks so elegant and beautiful as well. There are some patterns that have not been released yet. The first one is the Calm Down Tee by Lily Kate Franz. It's got saddle shoulders, which caught my attention. The last pattern I made with a different kind of shoulder was April cardigan. I'm not sure if it was saddle shoulders or it's a contiguous method. I think it is contiguous, but the idea of having that that strip of knitted fabric right on top of the shoulders makes the garment look so tailored, and so I put this down. It was one of the reasons this tee caught my eye. It does have some waist shaping. I have no clue about what yarn is used or what is the weight of the yarn, what's the needle size gauge, nothing, because I have just looked at it on Instagram and there are no Ravelry pages for this yet. This pattern is going to be released in June though. Then there's a Tendreil Tee by the Knit Pearl Girl. It's a drop shoulder pattern, top down. The feature of this Tendreil Tee is that it's got a texture on this side. There's a Tendreil sweater already, and so the Tendreil Tee is going to carry on that design. But it's going to come in 12 sizes. Again, I have no clue about the kind of yarn that's used, but I just know it's 50% cotton and 50% linen, which is going to be gorgeous. The cotton is going to give it some stiffness, and the linen is going to give the drape, and so the texture of that tendril pattern on the side is going to look very, very beautiful on this. I know this has gone out for test knitting last week, if I'm not sure. She did have a form up in her story last week. I don't think the test knit has started yet, but I'm looking forward for this pattern coming out. I'm sure it's going to be sometime in summer, but there's no date mentioned. The last one I have is the Amoretta Blouse by 100 Acre Wool. I think her name is Bella. She does have a podcast on YouTube, and you can always go look her up. It's a top-down blouse. It's not a tee, but it falls more in the blouse section, which is why, again, this pattern caught my eye, because I usually wear a lot of skirts, and I think blouses would usually go better with skirts than tees themselves. And so when I looked at this pattern, I wanted to immediately cast it on. It's not released yet. She's still working on the second version, and I don't know if it's out for test knitting yet either. But I like the neck design. I like the length of the sleeves. especially if you're wearing it with a skirt, a nice flowy garment. I think the length of the sleeves works perfectly for this, and I'm looking forward for it to be released. I'm looking forward for all the sample knit pictures and any other information that's going to come out on Ravelry, and I'm going to keep a track of this, and this would be maybe the second one that I would knit next year. With that, we've come to an end of all the patterns. With summer knitting in particular, I've realized all of the patterns use tinier needles, and so I want to be very intentional about what I'm choosing to cast on. I do not want to just have all the designs in my face and cast on everything that's coming up, or just buy yarn for them without being able to finish it. And also I do not want to stress my fingers or my wrists or my elbows. I'm noticing that is a thing as well as you keep knitting, and I just want to make sure I take it slow, enjoy the knitting process, especially with summer since we are outdoors more than ever. I want to take everything slow and do everything at a very relaxed pace without bothering my joints and just my general well-being. I hope you go look at these patterns, be inspired by them, and if you choose to cast them on, please let me know. If you don't, but you still have a favorite project or favorite pattern, and you can always put it down in the comments and we could always talk about it. I hope you enjoy your knitting this summer. I hope you take it slow, and happy knitting, everybody.